Welcome to the inaugural episode of Double Coverage. I'm Nick Kelly, here alongside Tyler Kraft, my fellow Maneater Mizzou football beat reporter, and the college football season is finally upon us. Mizzou takes on West Virginia later this week, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to get started. Brand new college football season, so much anticipation.
Right.
Can't wait to get going.
It's going to be exciting, and Barry Odom, the new Mizzou football head coach, released the depth chart yesterday. It's some pretty interesting names, and quarterback-wise, Drew Lock is going to be the starter with Marvin Zanders his backup. And what were your thoughts on that?
I mean, to me, it was always Drew Lock's job. He came in last year, very highly rated quarterback, took over from Matty Mock, and a little bit of an interesting situation. Didn't have much protection, didn't have much of a run game. So I would consider last year a bit of a fluke. I'm expecting to see a lot better things from him this year. But in the end, it's all going to be up to his protection. So we'll see what happens. Marvin Zanders, I think he'll get some packages, but we won't necessarily see him like every few downs. So he's probably more of a goal line, try and get the defense moving around more type of guy.
And Odom and the coaching staff has mentioned that we are going to see Zanders play, but they've kind of left it a mystery to see in what capacity and what they use him. But he's definitely a talented runner, so using him on the goal line, like you're saying, or in some specific running packages could really help this offense out. But speaking of running, the running back group also is kind of interesting. A lot of new names there, a lot of uncertainty to how this would play out. And what were your thoughts overall on that?
I was really excited to see Alex Ross tabbed as sort of the starter for this team. You look at his tape from Oklahoma, he's 6 foot, 220 pounds, and amazing speed. You look at some of the kickoffs he's returned, and he's just an explosive player. Ish Witter, I think he's more of a third down type of back. He's smaller. I know he put on some weight this offseason. I think he's up to 190 now. So I would expect to see him more catching out of the backfields to try and pick up some yards that way. Mm-hmm. But Alex Ross is your between the tackles runner for this season.
Right. I expect to see Alex Ross more often than Ish Witter, just because he can probably handle more just because of his body type. Being a 6'1" runner, I mean, he's got some good size to him. And so it'll be fun to see how he does, because he's, of course, a graduate transfer from Oklahoma. And so see how he fits into this Mizzou offense. But one kind of fun story of a guy who transferred here recently, and he came from a Division II level of football, is Jordan Harold, who will be starting at the 1D end spot opposite Charles Harris.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Jordan Harold, very similar build to Charles Harris. Jordan Harold's about an inch shorter and only 5 pounds heavier. So I would expect to see sort of a Charles Harris type of end. Mizzou is famous for turning unheralded linemen into amazing NFL prospects. I mean, just look at Charles Harris, completely unranked coming out of high school. Now he could necessarily maybe get into the All-American conversation by the end of the year. So Jordan Harold, I mean, Northwest Missouri State, that's a national championship program at the Division II level. So I would expect to see him sort of come on the scene very well this year.
And he beat out guys like Marcel Frazier, who have started some games, and he's only about 6'2", which for most DNs is fairly undersized, but at Mizzou that's not the case. Michael Sam, who was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year a couple years ago, he was about that size. Shane Ray, who is an outside linebacker for the Denver Broncos right now, he was about the same size. So it's not that strange to see a guy that's smaller in stature like Harold playing DN for Missouri, and it'll be fun to see how he does. And obviously he's not secured that job for the whole season, but he's certainly been presented with a fun opportunity going forward. And it's going to be fun to watch to see how this Mizzou team does. There's not very high expectations because of the turnover they've had and the new coaching staff, but make sure to follow us throughout the season, as we will have all the coverage you will need for the Maneater. You can follow me on Twitter at NickKelly51. You can follow Tyler on Twitter at where again?
At Tyler_K42.
That's where you will find all the information that we find while covering practice, and we will have 24/7 access as much as possible for you. And we'll also have a double coverage podcast coming out later this week that we're going to try to do weekly as well.
Expect it to come out sometime around Friday morning. We're very excited to do it and should have some good content on there.
We'll be talking all things Mizzou. It doesn't get much better than that in college football as well. Until next time, I'm Nick Kelly, and this is Tyler Kraft.